I knew what I had to do to get myself out of that situation and make myself happy. But with this, it came with the baby arriving, COVID arriving, the brother passing, job gone, all in the space of months. Yeah. And that's, I think, just there was no timing, there was no space, there was no gaps. It just all, you know, how can it describe it as it was just like the shower going on and I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah. That Mental Health Chat, a podcast brought to you by Back Onside, the mental health charity, in partnership with G4 Claims Limited. Hi and welcome to That Mental Health Chat, a podcast brought to you by Back Onside in partnership with G4 Claims. I'm Jason McGinn and I'll be hosting the podcast. I'm delighted to say that in the first episode I'm joined with none other than Back Onside patron and Scottish actor Gary Hollywood. What a fantastic guest to kick us off.
How are you, Jason?
I'm magic. Thank you very much for coming.
No, thank you for having me. Here we are, our first podcast, and I'm honoured.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Do you know what? I was actually thinking, Hollywood by name, Hollywood by nature. You're very glamorous tonight, Gary.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks very much. I thought I'd do my hair for you.
So, Gary, what I was thinking is, obviously, this podcast and this series of podcasts is all about mental health, helping raise awareness. And that is generally what we're hoping to achieve by getting this podcast out to people. So going into sort of you and your kind of story, how you were brought up, how you got to be where you are today, would be really interesting, I think, for everybody to hear.
Well, I'm family of four elder brothers. I was the baby in the family and brought up in Pollock. Mum and Dad, John and Betty, and went to primary and then went to secondary, typical working class family in Pollock, and then went into secondary school. First year, the drama teachers appeared at the maths door and said to my maths teacher, Miss O'Hagan, can we have a word with Gary? And I thought, oh God, what have I done? And here it was to go for an audition for Taggart back in 1992. I'd never acted before and just taken the normal drama classes in first year. So here it was to go for this audition in Cowcaddens, and of course absolutely excited. Went home, told my mum, and she said, what are you talking about? And I said, I've got an audition, I have to go to Taggart. And she said, are you taking the piss, you know? And I said, no, I said, it's happening. And I remember like going back, like we had no money at the time. You know, Mum and Dad were just wee jobs, and Mum was a cleaner all her days. Dad was in construction and he'd been laid off. So, but I remember the lovely Agnes, the neighbour across the road, and she's still with us. And so I ran over and tapped a tenner, as they say, and off I went to Cowcaddens on the 48 bus to High Posso the next day. It was 2 children from every school around the Glasgow area. And there I was, the only ginger, because the breakdown was, it was blonde-headed boys, but my drama teacher said, no, you must see this ginger. And that's why I'm so proud of being a ginger. It got me somewhere. And so off we went. Walked into a room of 50-odd kids from Glasgow, some privately educated, and then me with my Gola trainers on and my shell suit, I think. But got the audition, got a recall, and that was it. That was the taste that I got for the acting. I remember the night that Scottish Television had phoned my mum, and I was at the ice cream van getting a double nugget and an oyster for my dad. And she's screaming, Gary, STV's on the phone. You got Taggart. And everybody's looking, what are you talking about? So that was the journey. As they say, I started my career in acting. And growing up in Pollock, and that time, you know, you get slagged rotten. You get slagged all my life for having ginger hair, so you know that's nothing. But of course, acting, oh Jesus Christ, you know, I was gay, I was this, I was the whole lot. But then it turned because the bullies and the ones that didn't believe started to come round, and I ended up great support from what was the bullies turned into being your pals, and they became very protective and happy that I've achieved a dream. And then I went on to Dr. Finlay and bits and bobs, and then I got to take the high road, and I was 9 glorious years in that. Learnt a lot. That was the sort of what's the word? What could you say? That's the apprenticeship, and the springboard, and then that put me into movies. I met Alan Rickman, God rest him, and did a movie with Emma Thompson and her real-life mother, Phillida Law, and went to Boston and Massachusetts. I did a movie there. Peter Mullen, Ned's, The Flying Scotsman with Johnny Lee Miller. So it progressed a lot, and meanwhile I was doing panto. Did many years of panto at the Pavilion Theatre with the Crankies and Christian and Andy Cameron. And of course, that's where I sort of met Brendan O'Carroll, which then led me on to, 20 years with Mrs. Brown's Boys, which then went from theatre to TV, also a movie, and became an award-winning show on BBC. And I had a great time with that. It was many, many good years. And then it's time to move on. So that's a bit of background. That's where we came from. I didn't come from any acting world or any dynasty acting family. I just came for wee Betty and John for Pollock.
It's interesting, Gary, because obviously, as you kind of point out, Pollock's maybe not the kind of hobbit actor, is it? It's not really where a lot of actors have came from back, and especially probably in the time that we were growing up, that acting maybe wasn't a profession that people were really sought out.
It wasn't a done thing at all. And saying that, the God rest him, the lovely Ian McCall from City Lights fame and Rab C came from Pollock as well, and there's a few other wee actors that have came through the ranks, and but it was very, even when it went to school, although school was a great support, but even then, and I was doing the acting, I was doing my GCSEs, and still the guidance department were saying, so what job are you going for? 5 years into acting here at the moment. I think I'll go for that. But no, I must say I love school. I love the teachers. Still friends with a lot of them. There was a great support from them. Once they understood that that's what I wanted to do, and nobody was going to change my mind. And thankfully, I've managed to have a living out it.
Brilliant. It's something else that sprung to mind, actually. I had a friend, and I'm glad that you're so proud of your ginger heritage. Because I've got a friend who told me a story about when he was a wee boy, very similar. He auditioned for the Milky Bar Kid, and I've always said to him, how can you do that when you're ginger? But he claims he's Nigerian Sunset rather than ginger, however.
No, I'm just pure ginger. And my dream, when you're talking about Milky Bar Kid, my dream was always to be in an Iron Brew advert. Right? Maybe one day it'll happen. Who knows? Iron Brew, if you're listening, plug. But no, as I said, that's why I look at life at the moment and all the things that we're going through, and I'm thinking, well, I understand that. We grew up with all this name calling and every joke related to ginger hair, and I've heard it all before. And of course, coming from where I came from, you had to toughen up. You had to be a tough kid to survive. So no, I'm very proud of it. And I remember even the director in Taggart, actually, Sarah Hellings. And of course, I'm in a room full of blondes and me. And I was the first one in for the audition that day, and she said, and look at you with lovely red hair. And I said, oh yes, that shy, coy way. Look at me now. And she said, no, be proud of it. She said, that will make you stand out. Well, that and my loud mouth at times.
So see, going back to there's always a phrase sticks in my head, because you're saying like the name calling, when you were younger, and obviously the acting and stuff like that. And there's a phrase, I couldn't tell you who coined it, but they rearranged the one, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. But this one's, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names can cause permanent damage, because people always remember what they were called. Do you know?
Remember, no.
But I'm glad
that is true. I saw the other side. I had 4 elder brothers, and so they I wasn't fazed by anything growing up. They were very tough with me. So was my mother. There was any, name callings. There was, well, get over it or come up with something else, move on. There was no time to sort of dwell on it. And I think when you're younger, things do just brush off you slightly. I wasn't one to, I suppose, one to sit and let it affect me. Later in life, things have affected me, and I'm sure we'll come to that. Yeah. But when I was younger, you were fearless. And I would still always say I'm so proud of my upbringing, and so proud of where I came from in Pollock, and so proud that at the time we had no money, because I appreciate everything now.
Certainly. I don't think there's many people that would come from a background that they didn't have a lot, that would have a better appreciation of having something now, certainly. So, moving on for that, Gary, you obviously touched on that there about how things have maybe been a bit tougher to shake off later in life. And we're here because of Back Onside. And
of course.
For charity. What was your link? What's your connection to Back Onside? How did that come about?
Well, Libby, who is our founder of Back Onside, I've sort of been with Libby through many jobs, many charities. And I remember it was association with Libby was on Facebook. And she contacted me on Facebook. And Libby is in the room. She's just monitoring everything I'm going to say, and she'll hit me with the broken plant if I say anything wrong. But and it asked me, she was doing
plants were harmed in the
no plants were harmed. She was doing a video on
the neonatal unit.
Yep. And Libby had asked me would I be involved in being taking part of this video. Of course I said yes. And so Libby came to the house with her film crew. And that was the beginning of our friendship, which I always say she's a sister I've never had, because there was something special.
The morning that I arrived to film at his house, bear in mind who he was, and he was well known and things, he'd never met me from Adam. And I turned up with the film crew, and he's like, did you bring the sausages with you? And I was like, no. He's like, well, I'll be back in 5 minutes, just carry on, just make yourself at home. And he disappeared out the house and went and got rolls and sausage.
Sorry.
And so I'm like, all the guys, do not touch anything, do not move. Like, totally shocked that he just left, and he came back, and I ended up cooking the rolls and sausage.
You did, and that was, we just clicked. And right, get the rolls and sausage done. You want fried onions with that? You want an iron bread? You want a coffee? Do you want a tea? I think everybody was gobsmacked, because they have this perception of maybe people in TV are a bit up their own arse, and I'm far from that. Yeah. So that's where we connected, and our journey began, and our friendship began, and our family feelings began from that moment. And then with Libby, we went through various other paths that she went down involving charity, and I would always back her up and be by her side, as she was for me. And then Back Onside was born, and she said, would you come on board as patron? I said, well, why would I ever say no to you? So
that
sounds it. And so that's been us, and I must say, it's been lovely to be involved, and it's been lovely even more so to watch this develop and grow, and the team that is around the charity and around Libby is definitely special, and this charity is going to grow and grow and grow, and go from strength to strength, which is fabulous to watch, and fabulous to watch the amount of lives and families and individuals that it's helping along the way.
I would 100% agree with that, Gary. I've had obviously my own insight into it in the team. So yeah, I think I'd 100% agree with you.
No, it is. And of course, everybody knows me for Mrs. Brown's Boys, and of course, it's been documented for the last year that that's came to an end, which it has, and sad that it went the way that it went. And there's no point wasting our time getting into the details of it all, because I'm actually saving that for my book. But through that happening last year, that's when Back Onside kicked in for me.
Okay.
And last year we had...
You had a tough year last year.
Little Ollie was born, and he was born premature.
That's your wee one.
Yeah, he's a year and a half now, and going from strength to strength. But we came from Lanzarote, and we flew back to Avoli, and he came a month early, and
in the middle of lockdown as well.
There was COVID. It came, and we were here, and he was born prematurely, and he had jaundice, and he wasn't retaining his own body weight. So that was a bit of a struggle, and thankfully the wee man came through it. And then my brother passed. And that was a shock to us all. And... so you've got this wee man, and you're trying to be happy, and happy for the family, and happy for my wife, but also trying to be strong for my mum and dad. And but the wee man was the light.
Yeah.
It was as if Jared had left a wee gift for us all, and he gave us strength to get through it as best we could. So we did all that, and then we managed to get back to Lanzarote and start that new chapter. And then I was due to come back and film Mrs. Brown's Boys. So I flew back, quarantined, and then word came through that I usually do 2 episodes and have done for the last 10 years. But we're getting reduced to 1 episode. Well, that was quite, there was no explanation coming through for it. You're getting 1 wage for that then. I get a text from the man himself, just saying, well, that's the end of the journey for us all, and off we go. That hit me so much, as well as having...
Because everything that was going on.
Well, I just, that, as I say, it was like the final straw, it's like, the whole year was going 100 miles per hour. You've got the wee man, your brother's passed, you're trying to be strong for your mum and dad and the family, and then a job that I've been involved in for so long and enjoyed, comes to an abrupt end and a fallout. I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like fallouts, but there you go. It was a fallout. And so that hit. So that's fine. We then go back to Lanzarote, and it was Libby had been in touch, and she was coming back and forth on phone calls, and she kept saying to me, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine." She said, "I don't think you are." Obviously, with the field that she's involved in, and things, she can pick up on this and she can detect things. But I kept saying, "No, I'm absolutely fine," and my hiding. My sadness and there was a darkness. I've never felt it in my life, but there was just a dark cloud coming over me. And in the January, Libby again had contacted us after New Year, etc. And she said, "I really think that you should speak to someone." And I said, "I am not speaking to anybody because, I can do this myself." Libby said, no, I don't think you can. And I really would like you to speak to someone. And looking back now, I can see where she's coming from, and very thankful, because I was bottling everything up, and of course trying to happy time, happy energy, a new wee baby in her life, and quietly dealing with the sadness and darkness in my own mind with, the death of my brother, the job, everything. So I did, and I phoned Libby one day and I said, I think that time's came. She went, good. She hung up the phone and someone will call you, which Jane, one of the counsellors, did call me. And I think that was the best thing I ever did, for many, many reasons. Most importantly, for your mental health, because I didn't want to be a burden to my wife. I didn't want to be a burden to friends or family. And as Sherlan says, Christ, Gary, you're the first to be there for others, for support. So the best thing that I'd done, because you try to keep everything together. And I remember speaking to Jane, and I said, everybody's going through this, COVID, etc. And she said, okay, let's just rewind. Okay, let's just rewind and go through everything that's happened. I don't think everybody's going through certain chapters that you're saying, and I got it. And so I'd spent a couple of weeks with Jane from the charity. We would FaceTime, have a meeting for an hour once a week, and I could personally feel the lift, because I'd reached where I didn't want to go. I wasn't going out, and I was trying to be energetic and with the baby and everything, but I just felt really down. And as the weeks were going and working along with Jane, I could feel my old self coming back. And even my wife said, you can see the change. You've got your wee glows coming back. I'm still not out of the woods. But in having the counselling, it was putting everything into the boxes where it was supposed to go, because it was in my head as if, how could I explain it? As if someone had just emptied the kids' Lego box onto the floor, and it was everywhere. And now it was time to put everything back, but put it back properly in its place.
Right place.
So I'd never been counselled in my life for anything, and I've been through divorces. The whole lot. We've went through hurdles in life, but this was something I just couldn't do this on my own. And it made me understand more and appreciate more to what this charity is all about. And it makes me wanting to appreciate my post as a patron, but also appreciate what this charity does. There's a lot of patrons out there that's fine, we'll turn up to the ball or turn up and do the photo shoot. But it certainly made me sit up and go, I want to be more involved with this charity. And I want to give back. And as I said, a bigger understanding as to what this charity is all about and what it does for people. So, out of something bad, something good, as my mother would say.
See, I want to sort of unpick a few things, actually, Gary, because as we went through that, you've obviously told us loads there. And one of the things that's actually interesting for me is you've went straight to that part in your life there that obviously started causing sort of issues with your mental health. And just in reflecting back on it, you said, I went through things like divorce, a couple, like these are major. So, like, what was it that got you through all those that didn't really work this time? Is there something you could pinpoint in that, or do you think that it was just a kind of culmination of a lot of things at the one time?
I think it was a combination of the one of it all coming at once, or in the space of a couple of months. Whether with my divorce, I knew that I was unhappy in my marriage, and I knew that in a year or so going down the road, that I knew what I had to do to get myself out of that situation and make myself happy. But with this, it came with the baby arriving, COVID arriving, the brother passing, job gone, all in the space of months. Yeah. And that's, I think, just there was no timing, there was no space, there was no gaps. It just all, how can it describe it as, it was just like the shower going on and I couldn't turn it off. Yeah. Everything was just coming at me at once. And as I say, I never had dark feelings like that in my life ever before. And thankfully, the happy times are coming back.
Good.
The strength is coming back, and the wee man's getting bigger and more demanding.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's the best part. So, because something else that I strongly believe in, and I think you'll probably be an advocate of this as well now, is like when you speak about counselling, saying I'm not quite out the woods yet, but it's an ongoing process, because and you ever really, if you don't work on it, I always make the comparison with your physical health and your mental health. Yeah. If you don't train or keep a healthy diet, then you're not going to be in good shape. And your mental health isn't any different to that. So it is an ongoing process where you're going to have to keep working at that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I know, you see, maybe looking at the past, that I remember Libby saying a long time ago, as we said earlier, about the divorce and the separation and going through all these things before, and I said, no, I don't need to speak to anybody. And well, okay, I managed to deal with that on my own and in my own head. But now I understand what mental health is. I now understand that it really is, to me, hitting a brick wall. And I don't know if I can get back up. I maybe need a hand.
And that's all right.
Previously, I've managed to do it on my own, but this time, no. But it's okay. It's absolutely okay. It's okay to ask for help. And I remember speaking to Damien, who I used to work with, and he was on the phone as well. And you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And I had a little circle of friends around me who could see these things, and that's what they kept saying. It's okay. This is okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to ask for help. And again, that's what Libby had saw as well. She has the resources through the charity. This is what we're going to do. That was it. It was passed over. Libby and I have never discussed it again. She knows that our counsellor Jane is involved, and that I'm on a path. And as you say, we'll work on that path. What it's taught me, though, is certainly look around you more. Look at the circle around you more. What is not making you happy has to go. I would tolerate a lot of nonsense from people.
I said that to you, though, for years and years when we first met.
Yeah. No, you did.
It's about the circle and who you are at that time. Like somebody coming into, like when I came in as a friendship, you could spot the people.
Yeah. Users
hanging on and
yeah. And so
you're a people pleaser. You just want to make everybody happy.
Everybody's that's true, and
it's when you hit your bad times, and that's when you.
Well, that's
right
yes.
Let's see who's really good for me.
Yeah. And it's true. So
that happens with everybody. That's not just like people in the screens and the limelight. That happened to me, and. But I think it's harder for people that are known because.
Well, I think with people that are known is that I know that I go for my bath in the morning and I have a shave and I do your hair and you get ready and you walk out. I have to walk out with a smile, or if I'm walking at the shops and it's hello, it's you turn it on. Yeah. You're constantly because that
show face.
Well, it's a show face as I call it. That's right, and. But because, you know, these people, you've made them laugh maybe for whatever. They think that they know you inside out. So you don't want to share any troubles with them. So you do turn it on, you do get a picture, and I've never ever, you know, people said you get tired with it. My mother taught me very, very early on, enjoy it. It's one day nobody will bother. So somebody will want a picture with you. So, and that's why I never understand actors or actresses that, or anybody in the public eye that would tell a 10-year-old or a 50-year-old that they don't have time for a picture or they don't have time for a chat. You know, I used to drive my wife up the wall because in Lanzarote I would sit and chat away with folk before I know it. You know, there's a round of drinks sent. There you go. They're on me. Come on back to the house and I'll make her stew, roast tatties.
I remember being out one night in Lanzarote, or we were overstaying, and I think we were going out for a meal or something, and Gary is very, like, obviously I know Gary as Gary.
Yeah.
But whenever you go out in public, he goes into Dino, because that's obviously,
character.
And I say to him, I think there is a bit of kind of anxiety maybe, I don't know, when you're out in the public and people believe that he's Dino.
Yeah.
So he goes into the character Dino, and we're going out one night, and me and Sheila are like, oh God, we'll get a night that we go out and it's not, like you say, a round of tables of strangers getting shots and drinks and pictures. So we're like, let's try and just sneak into a restaurant tonight. All right, okay. We'll try and go unnoticed. And then he goes out the bedroom with I don't even think it was near Christmas, a Christmas jumper on that flashed and sang. And I was like, yeah, that's really
It's low key. Yeah. It's low key. But it's all about having a laugh. Of course, he was having a laugh. But no, so there is that. There's that of you're constantly switched on, and it's nice to be nice. Yeah. But again, when you're going through a cloud over you, and still having to make that smile, and still, you know, it can get tiring. As you say, that's for anybody, but it doesn't help, you know, if you're recognised. But again, I do live by, you know, it's nice to be nice, and therefore you just get on with it and you deal with it. That, you know, you can get back in the car and have a cry, or you can go home and do your worrying there, but you don't do it.
A sanctuary or a place to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you've got social media, and we've had conversations on the phone, especially over the last year, where there's been something written in the paper that Gary's got no control of, and then there's the people that comment that don't know him and think they know him, and he's got Facebook, and he'll say to me, "What's it saying?" And I'm not telling you. Well, that means it's something bad, and then he'll find a way of getting screenshots, and he's back in the phone saying, "I've seen it." And
it's funny,
it's not.
But you can't help yourself. And I remember the time with all the nonsense of leaving the show and all the comments. And again, it's people that don't know the story, don't know the ins and outs. You know, don't have the texts, don't have the emails. I do, so I know what's went on. And but again, it gives you the strength, because you have to look at it realistically. Not at the time, but then you settle with it and go, you're right, as Libby said, my wife said, hey, these people don't know you. If anybody knows you, then they know that that's not true, or whatever. But it's hard, because you want to have a nosy, don't you? But
that's the bad parts of social media, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of these people aren't really even interested in what the real story is.
No, they just want to get their tuppence in.
Yeah, they've got the bit of the story that they want to hear, that's the juicy part, that they want to, whether it's right, wrong, and different, they've got the part that they want to know. Yeah. And that's it.
And they move on. Yeah. And this is what these people do. Yeah. But, you know, you look at the big picture, and that's all that matters. As I said earlier, it's all about my small circle now. Yeah. It's all about my family. It's all about enjoying life. As I said, I've lost many people in my life, many close friends, but when my brother passed, you know, at 50 years of age, not expecting that, and he, you know, he was my brother above me. We were very, very close. It hits you. But at the same time, now I can say this, you reevaluate everything in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more laid back than I've ever been in my life.
True.
Ever been in my life. I don't let little things get to me now. I don't worry about comment about people that I don't know or I see in social media or in the press. I don't worry about anything like that now. It's a whole reevaluation of life and an outlook. As long as myself and my family and my close friends are happy, I wish everybody else the best in their life, and I got on with mine. And 42 this year, eventually, growing up and looking at things differently. But that's out of all this, that's what I'm taking, and that's what I'm going to live by. That as long as my family and my close friends are fine and happy, and that is really the only opinions I'm concerned about, then just get on with life. Life's hard enough for everybody.
Of course, that's a good look.
It's hard enough for everybody. So, and it's all this, be kind. It makes me laugh when you look at social media and you look and you think, come on, just be nice, be kind. Or as my mother said, if you've got nothing nice to say nothing at all.
Don't say it. Exactly. I mean, to be fair, you've probably cut this podcast about half an hour short, because I was going to ask you about leaving the show.
Well, that means I'll need to come back.
I'm joking.
I'll need to come back then.
With a bottle of Hollywood gin.
Oh, Hollywood gin.
So, before we move on to that part, I was just going to ask, because what we've discussed there, we've kind of went into it, but talking about the part of being known or being on TV or being a celebrity, does that, I think you've already sort of touched on this, but it kind of adds to the pressure of when you're trying to cope and deal with a lot of things that are going on in your own life, because they do become part of the public interest. People know about it. And do you think at any point for you that added to how you were feeling, because you maybe didn't always have that space to cope, and when you were going out and facing the public, you did have to put on a front?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to be publicly known. However, other parties had went to press before me, so therefore, my agent Dermot and my family then say, you need to stand up for yourself. You need to give your opinion. And to be honest with you, I haven't really gave my full opinion yet. But yeah, you do have to reply to things that I'm thinking, I really wanted this just to be private. But again, in the public eye, it's a public interest. That's fair enough. So you go with it. And yeah, that's a downside, I suppose. It's a downside because, for instance, my brother in construction can go through any troubles in his life or any worries or any concerns or any upsets privately. Whether public eye, unless he chooses, But yeah, there you go. It's part and parcel of the job.
And something I sometimes think about, and it kind of worries me a wee bit about a kind of trend of nowadays, a lot, especially of young people seeking fame that maybe don't, overnight fame especially, Instagram, influencers, people that go on celebrity shows who overnight become known in the public eye, who probably don't think or consider that side of things, where people are now going to know who you are. They're going to want to know your business. Yeah,
they want to be famed, but they don't understand the responsibility also that comes with it. But and also the
jealousy from other people, which then turns into
of course, and then the downside of that all, and that's just what's become crazy. At the moment, it really has. Like when I first started acting at 12, you didn't have
a mobile phone.
You didn't, well, exactly, but you
Somebody
didn't.
Somebody posted a letter.
Wrote to you, telegram. But you didn't have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Everything's instant now. Eh?
Maybe Bebo was appearing then.
Oh no, that's right. What was the other one?
You were sending a letter to the broom cupboard. Who was the broom cupboard again?
Was that
Andy Peters?
Andy Peters,
He would read out the letters.
Aye. But you didn't have all that. But now everything's there. Everything. And, that's just the way and the life that we're living in at the moment. And so therefore we adapt to it. I have social media. I have Twitter and I have Instagram. Predominantly, I'm using that for work.
Yeah.
Or to promote. I certainly wouldn't be, up there recording parties that Libby and I and you are at, because, that just wouldn't be allowed.
I don't go to parties.
Nah, I can't remember the last time I was at a party. Is that right?
That's because you were inebriated.
So, now,
yes,
we've got this episode is sponsored by Hollywood Gin.
Hollywood Gin.
Which leads us right on to
nice link. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. Like nice link. So this Hollywood Gin, everybody who knows me knows I love to party and I love a wee gin. And 2 years ago, Libby actually was included in this again. But I kept talking about this idea. It was just a bucket list. It was on the bucket list. I want to do my own gin. And my wife and Libby and some other friends said, why don't you do it? So I thought about it, and I made a couple of calls to some contacts, and one of them, husband, is in the gin industry, and they have a distillery in Leicester. So I said, can we get a meeting, and could this possibly be done? And so the journey began, and off we went to Leicester. We went to gin school for 2 days, which was fantastic.
I can imagine.
Not for my wife, though, because she was pregnant at the time, so she could only sniff the botanicals and the final product. But, so yeah, we did that. And then we went through the progress of designing the labels and finding the right bottle and corkage. This was a whole different world. I was just that off the shelf, please, thank you, in the bag. And Asda, and that was me off.
Other shopping centres are available.
Yes, whatever one is going to
stock
Hollywood Gin, and I'll mention more.
I think it's kind of a Waitrose, is it not? Hollywood Gin.
Yeah, Waitrose. Yeah. No, I want it in Tesco and Pollock. Thanks very much. And so yeah, the journey began, and off it went. COVID, I said, it came, so it was slowing everything down. And there's a small team behind this who have families and children. I was desperate to get this Christmas market. I'd missed every other market through the year, and I was pushing that we were going to get this out for Christmas, going against all the advice from the powers that be, the ones that know what they're doing, and then there's me. But no, I got it out. Thankfully, it worked in my favour, and I proved them wrong, that everybody over that Christmas was getting a bottle of gin, and sales were great. People got their money in time for Christmas for their kids, and we got our baby out there, Hollywood Gin, and it was fantastic to see. It's growing. We are dealing with Sottish just now. We're in Glasgow at the moment, working on that, and hopefully it goes from strength to strength. And of course, I can't sit there, because now I'm on to Hollywood Vodka, and we go to start that in a couple of weeks' time. So there you go. I'll build a little empire for the boys.
That's great.
To look after when the time is right.
So other than drinking gin, you had no sort of background in any of that?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever, apart from I could drink a few under the table. Yeah, good gin. And so, no, not a clue. None whatsoever. But have a good team around me who know what they're doing. And I was determined I wanted to, again, going back to the bullying, going back to the ginger hair, going back to all those years of putting up with the nonsense. So I wanted Ginge involved in the name. So we've named it Hollywood Ginge, which is tongue in cheek. But that's what it was all about. And it's going well.
Brilliant. So see, if I'm picking that up correctly, then that all sort of came about during the time that you were going through sort of a kind of tough time.
Yeah.
Was that a kind of focus for you, or was that just something that you, as you said, was your bucket list? And you thought
it was on the bucket list, and it it was also, as you say, something to try and take my mind off, and it would take my mind off for the couple of hours that I'd be working on it, and then you'd go back to feeling a bit a bit poorly, or I don't know, dark. And so yeah, it certainly gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to be proud of, something that was mine. Although you're going through all the nonsense at the time, it gave me, as you say, something to focus on, something to drive me, something to get me out of bed, something to get there in the end.
I think that shows a lot of character and resilience, and I think resilience is obviously something that is probably a recurring thing in when you speak about mental health, because people need to show that when they're trying to overcome something. So it shows great strength of character and resilience for you, that going through those tough times you found the drive, as you say, to go out and start.
It was a drive. It was a drive. And also, I think because you had a small team around, and I felt responsible for people to have money in their pocket for Christmas. This was getting out there. This wasn't their issues; it was my issues. So let's do it. And I'm glad we did. And I'm happy. I'm proud of that part. And
I obviously had to get a few bottles because Gary couldn't get it when he was in Lanzarote. So we had this gin,
right,
but couldn't get it over to him because of
we didn't have any export licenses at the time, and
So I'm obviously buying it to feed back how the bottle is. And
yes, of course she is. And
then obviously get my friends to get involved as well. So.
Purely just product testing.
Of course.
The thing is,
but
she's a very good critic because she doesn't like gin, really.
No, I'm a vodka.
She's a vodka queen, and so she was very, very honest, and thankfully she liked it.
It's very strong.
It's good, aye.
Oh.
I've not tried it.
Well, we must sort that out. I'm here at the moment, so we must get that sorted.
Absolutely. And I actually I like a gin. I've not gin for a while, but I like a gin.
I'm not just saying it is a very nice gin.
I like where this is going.
Oh, we'll get this sorted.
Have a gin tasting night.
That sounds magic.
Well, obviously, we're going to have.
You're driving that night. We'll have the gin tasting.
We're having a gin bar at the golf day next year. We're having a gin bar at the.
Oh, Hollywood is sponsoring everything for our Back Onside.
At the ball, and we've got a charity match coming up, and it's
and Gin's going to fill the water bottles at half time. So I hear.
Oh,
imagine
every bottle is there's getting filled. No coffee in the morning. It's just Hollywood gin.
Gary, I've got a couple of questions that I just want to ask you.
Yeah.
Right? So I was thinking just questions that I was going to ask every guest.
Right. Okay.
On the podcast. So the first one.
Right.
What is the best advice you've ever been given? Best advice or the best piece of advice?
Yeah. Do not believe your own press.
I like it.
And that was from Alan Rickman. Okay. And I was 16 at the time. We were filming The Winter Guest, which was a stage play which then became a movie, and it's written by Sharman MacDonald, who's Keira Knightley's mother. And Alan had asked, which of course I was absolutely honoured, would I be in this movie along with Emma and Phila DeLaw, Sheila Reid, Sandra Vo, Douglas Murphy, and Sean Biggerstaff, who went on to Harry Potter fame. He taught Harry to play Quidditch. So it was a wonderful cast, and how could I forget Arlene Coburn, who played opposite me, and she became a good pal as well. During all the filming, and it was relatively a young cast, four of us, four, all in our teenage years, and that's what he came out with one day. He said, "Let me give you some advice. Never believe your own press." And I thought, work that one out, and that's what it was. Don't start, believing how because people say, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're this, you're that." You start believing that, then you'll fail. So I've always stood by that. Never believe your own press. Just go a long life. Be humble, be kind, be nice.
Good advice. Sound.
Have pals that bring you back down to earth when you do start feeling that.
Always.
2 gins.
Oh, she doesn't need the gin.
The other question I've got is, who or what has been the most influential thing in your life?
There's been... Well, who did you say?
Who or what?
Or
so a
who or
person
what?
or something that has been the most influential thing in your part of your life.
I think going back to family, I think going back to my mum and my brothers, my dad obviously, but my mother's a killer.
Wee Betty.
Wee Betty, there's no nonsense with wee
Betty.
Betty. My dad's a placid man and Betty's just in your face. So I think the influence coming from her, and I remember her saying this at an early age, is that no one is better than you, nor are you better than anyone else. And I think she was setting me up that, you know, for the falls as well as the good times. And they have been influential. I know that they're proud of me, but you don't get that. You know, it's like, there's the bins, get the bins out, get the pay. There's none of all that carry on with our lot. So I would have to put it down to wee Betty and the family. And then, of course, Sherlan, my wife, who has been an absolute rock, and no one's, relationship-wise, no one has supported me and gave me the strength that she's gave me in all my years. And for that, I'm very thankful to her. And then, of course, my close friends.
Our Libby.
Our Libby. But yeah, wee Betty.
Yeah. And some sound advice again. Some more good advice.
Oh, no nonsense.
And lastly, what is the one thing you'll never compromise on? A mixer for your gin.
A mixer for my gin. Libby, hold on, I just want to say, what would I not compromise on? You're sitting here laughing.
I know.
I can't.
You can't possibly say.
Libby, we can edit this out. I'm desperate to hear. I want to know what
So am I.
It's just like, I wouldn't say it can't compromise on. If Gary has something in his head that he's right until he's either proven wrong.
I need to be proven wrong.
Or he then...
Or I was right. Or I was right.
No.
There you go.
Or if he can make him work out or think that what you're trying to tell him was his idea. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then, but if you're like, we've had many an argument.
Give us an example, Libby. I want an example here.
I need to have to switch that up. I was doing a flight back home from Lanzarote once. Like, my bags packed.
But I was right.
They weren't even,
I was right.
packed.
Was I right?
Yeah, but I didn't realise.
Was I right?
Yeah, you were right.
Thank you.
That's a new feature on the podcast.
So, yes, let's do this. Let's do this. But, yeah, okay. Yeah, but I was right.
So I don't know if compromise. It's just stubborn.
So the one thing you would not compromise on is compromising.
Nah, there you are. There you go. I'm glad we got there in the end. I'm glad we got there in the end. No, you know, you're awfully harsh on me. I would compromise, but as long as I was right.
Brilliant. Well, I kind of get that.
You'd have to see him in action.
You're talking about when the what's it Sherlan calls us, the ginger storm.
Yeah, the ginger storm.
Oh.
You go off in one. But it takes me a long time to go off in one.
Oh,
You know,
it's always like in like
unless
fun.
it's with you. But it does, you know, it takes I don't like confrontation. It takes some time. You just press every button. And because
See, because when Gary moved away to Lanzarote,
Yeah.
at first, just with circumstances, I couldn't get out at first. So when I did get out, it was like we hadn't seen each other properly for so long. It was always like, you know,
I know we're always on the phone, but
and then after that, I was going out quite a bit just from a Thursday to a Sunday. Could get a cheap flight.
As you do.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
lady of the lunches.
And because I could work from basically anywhere. There was
Yeah.
Wi-Fi kind of thing. But Sherlan would always I would arrive on a Thursday night, and if the kids were with me or whatever, they would just disappear, and it would just be me and Gary, and it would be like whatever I was annoyed with them at that I couldn't see over FaceTime or the phone.
She would say, and vice versa. So that's
about how he wasn't coping and he wasn't speaking, and it's hard for being at the other side of the world pretty much to help him.
Yeah, she could see what I was going through at the time.
So it was a frustration for you that you couldn't be there for him, maybe, or couldn't offer up that help. And then obviously, like, what you could have in a face-to-face conversation, wasn't it?
And then that's when he didn't compromise, because I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine.
Oh, yes, but there's a couple of different stories going on here.
Yeah.
But yes, that particular story, yes. Yes. You could see what I couldn't. And I was being, stubborn. I'm fine. Meanwhile, you're not fine. And yes, as you're saying, then you're believing that I'm right. I believe that I'm absolutely fine, but she can see different. So it was like having two wives at the time.
I'll tell you.
But me and Sherlan had always, on the Friday night, me and Sherlan had a night where we sat and bitched about him. The nicest possible way.
But we always get there in the end.
Aye, of course. And that's what it's the destination that counts, isn't it?
And the Saturday night was the family dinner with the Christmas jumper on. Oh, brilliant.
But that's when he's going back to like the brother-sister relationship, because we're not friends, but that's when the brother.
Everybody says that though, even like all our family.
Yeah.
You act like brother and sister.
We have said things to each other that only brothers and sisters would get away with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things that our own partners wouldn't say, things that our own brothers and sisters wouldn't. But that's the special connection, that we have said things to each other that if that was a friend, then you would never speak to them again. But it's for the best that these things have been said.
Oh yeah, it's for the nicest possible.
In the nicest possible loving way.
It sounds it.
But yeah.
Listen, we've always both been right.
Always. But yeah, listen, you'll need to be around the next time we have a disagreement.
I can't believe the answer I've got. What would you not compromise on? I've been speaking for it.
There you go. Now you'll need to edit that.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. So, future plans, Gary, what have you got coming up? What's lined up for you?
Oh, well, as this is being recorded, because I don't know when it'll be aired, but I'm up for dancing on ice. And hopefully...
Can you ice skate?
No.
Yes.
But that's the whole point, isn't it? They train you. Oh, I tell you. I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I tell you. So, yes, I had a meeting with the producers and the powers that be, and the trainer, and all lovely, lovely people. And it'll be public knowledge, I suppose, I think, end of July, beginning of August. And so, if that happens, then that will take up the next 5 months of my life. It'll be busy. There's other things that's in the pipeline as well, but it's not worth talking about because I don't know if anything will be confirmed. And so focus on that. Focus on creating the vodka. I'm hoping to get that up and running. I was hoping to have it up and running by the end of July, but it's just restrictions have been holding things up. So hopefully get that up and running, and then I'll finish up with a rum. I'll do a rum, hopefully for Christmas. So that's the sort of little business venture ideas. And regarding acting, well, again, I'm quite looking forward to not being in the one job for 20 odd years, that I'll go and be a jobbing actor. There's little things coming through. We're in discussions about bits and bobs, and also an autobiography. So my agent's dealing with all that just now for deals and who we go with, and there's two publishers on the table. So we'll just pick the best one that'll work good with me, and I'll work good for them, and that'll be that. And so yeah, the The future's looking bright. It's looking ginger.
It's looking
Orange, ginger. So, everything's good. Wee Ollie is growing, and we're all healthy, and I still have my mum and dad, so blessed.
100%. Yep. What more can you ask for?
That's it.
Gary, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honour to sit and listen to your story.
Jason, thank you, and thank you for having me. And Libby, I love you dearly. We love the charity dearly, and whoever's listening to this, never ever be in the dark on your own. Get in touch with Back Onside, as I did. Lots of love.
What a great way to end. Thanks very much, Gary.